All right, we are on. Hello, everybody. This is Belinda one more time, and I am joined with my friend Emmanuel Gibson, affectionately called Manny. So today we're going to hear about Manny's health journey. So, Manny, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Emmanuella Gibson. Manny is fine with Belinda and those who know me affectionately. But I am a Pilates instructor. I've been so since 2009. But I do work full time, and I'm an executive assistant, and I specialize in higher education. I have a 4-year-old daughter, a singleton, very busy, very active, and I'm married. So I have a household workload, and I also am in school. Hopefully, in the next 2 semesters, I can complete my master's in business administration with a focus in management.
Oh,
So,
wow. You are busy, girl.
yeah.
You are busy. You are very, very busy. So, with such a busy schedule, how are you able to manage like the whole health thing?
And I started sharing this with Belinda a little bit already. I have to reinvent it every time, depending what's going on in life, and you can't just give up on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there are moments where I'm just like, this is too much. I'm too busy, and I'm ready to throw in the towel. But you
Right.
just have to reinvent how you do it. So, before busy with baby and schoolwork, I was getting up at 5 in the morning and starting out, my fitness in the morning before work, and then I would come home, and then I'd have a couple of classes
Mm-hmm.
that I would either teach or attend myself. So I've had to tweak that a little bit because I can't always, get out the door before then, depending what the night before is looking like with school and stuff. So,
Right.
but I still maintain it mostly on the weekends and in the evenings. Quite a bit. I put an hour in to some form of activity.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Mhm.
So it is possible. You just have to, again, like what I'm hearing you say is that you have to kind of like adjust it based on your schedule, but it is possible. It's not impossible. It is possible. Right.
Exactly.
And for Manny, she can, you said that you can do an hour, and for, someone else, it might not be an hour. It might be 15 minutes and 30 minutes, but
Right.
you're able to get it in and you feel so much better once you do. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that once that I introduced it years back, it feels uncomfortable for it to not be part of my day. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, getting up and brushing your teeth. Did I do that? I have to do that today. And I also want, my little girl, she's still young, but I want her to have that early on. So she looks forward to walks in the morning, and then, those, whatever the activity is in the afternoon that we're going to run out and do. And we do it as a family mostly. Sometimes I get out on my own. But since we've been home, we've been doing it as a family, which is also
Yes. That's always a
smart,
plus.
to get. Yes, yes.
But what you said is so important. It's just like once you start doing it, it becomes part of your day. And if you skip it for whatever reason, you feel like your day is not complete. It
It's
just feels
true.
like, oh man, you know what I mean? Like I have felt like that so many times on days that I didn't get it done, and I'm just like, my day is over. I
Yeah.
didn't get it done. It's so incomplete, right? Because it's so part of your routine. It's such a habit that like once you skip that habit, it just throws everything off. So I'm super happy that you said that. So let's start from the beginning, right?
Yes.
So how did you start? Like what made you start? What made you start Pilates or just going on this health journey period?
I've always been interested in fitness and health, and but I've never had the theory or the expertise in it. And
Okay.
I really fell into Pilates quite by accident. I had moved to a new town, and I was trying to figure out, what I was going to do for a workout. I wasn't familiar with the gyms, like what gyms are in town, and what are people doing for fitness in this town. So
Mm-hmm.
right down the road was a studio, a Pilates studio, and I had no idea what it was. And I went in and I met this woman, and I said that I'm open to it as long as it's not, against my religion type of thing. And she was very clear. She's like, I'm Christian too, and she introduced me to Pilates. I couldn't attend classes because I was working out of Cambridge at the time, so I wasn't making in time for classes. So she offered me private lessons
Wow.
on a equipment called a reformer, and I completely fell in love. A reformer looks like a hospital bed. you lay out on it, you do it's really like equivalent to mat work.
Okay.
Except that it uses springs. And I was able to, at first I'm like, what is this? But at first that's how I started with her. And then and then I was able to attend classes.
Mm-hmm.
And she just saw how quickly I took to it, and she encouraged me to do the Pilates certification. And I'm so glad I did.
That's awesome.
I'm so glad I did. But I was seeking it out first because I knew that not only was it good for body and soul, but it was good for my mind. I had an experience that triggered anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I had a traumatic experience that triggered an anxiety, and I didn't want to get into I wanted to find a healthy way to manage it.
Okay.
And so the doctor encouraged things like, going to bed by a certain time and getting a certain amount of sleep, not eating past a certain time. So I wasn't eating past 7, and exercising 3 times at least. And then I took it and ran. Of course, I was exercising like every day. But that's why I was seeking out, these fitness, not just for body and soul, but for mind. And it did wonders. It helped me to sleep better. It helped me to focus better. My posture improved, my confidence, the whole thing. So no regrets there.
That is awesome. And kudos to that doctor, because many times doctors are quick to prescribe medications. Yep. And here your doctor was saying, you know what, before we get into the medication portion, let's kind of like do lifestyle. But again, because your anxiety was triggered by an event, maybe I don't know, but mm-hmm. that also helped as well. You know what I mean? But again, I know many doctors who instead of kind of like really listening to their patients and kind of seeing if there are other alternatives before they just go straight into the drugs. They just go straight into the medication. So kudos to that doctor for encouraging you to do that. And kudos to you for listening to that advice, right? And taking it and run with it. So that's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome as well. So I'm happy that you're able to experience the benefits, the mental, I'm happy that there were a lot of benefits that you experienced as a result of Pilates. Did you use Pilates for anything else? Did it help with anything else?
Oh my goodness, it helped with my posture. It helped with my flexibility. It helped with my core strength, which I wasn't even familiar with. The core is considered the powerhouse of the body when you study Pilates. It helps your arms kind of flow, your legs, how you walk and everything. I was sitting up taller and, at work and at church, you become very conscious of it. And then it becomes kind of a subset, like you just do it naturally. So there were a lot of those health benefits, and my body started to kind of lean out, and, I was feeling good.
That's awesome.
I did incorporate it with some cardio work. So I was doing I was doing martial art work, kind of kickboxing type of work to kind of keep the cardio, because it gives you just enough cardio, but you need a little bit more. But the strength and the toning, I felt much stronger and much more toned in my body.
That's awesome. I've done some Pilates myself. And it's funny because when you're watching it, if you're watching it on YouTube, you're watching people, they're like, oh, that looks so easy, right? And you try it, you're like, oh. I was like, this hurts.
I'll tell you, the first woman who put me on the machine, she was past 50, 60. I'm going to tell you that right now. And she was in this amazing shape. And I'm like, I can do that. I mean, if she can do it, right, I can do it. And when I got on, I was just like, this is so long. So I think the first class was like 30 minutes. I was like, I'm good to start.
It's like, all right, I think we're going to stop here.
This woman tried to kill me, but I was impressed. Then I made it a goal. I'm like, I got to be able to do this.
Right. It's like, if she could do it, she's older than I am.
And she told me she gets a lot of people. She would get a lot of people like cops, for example, who train a particular way. And the muscles are all on top, where Pilates goes to the muscles closest to the bones, which is why it's great with flexibility and joint. People who have back, it helps with the spine. So she was able to, she said she would get bodybuilders in there that would struggle on some of the machines and some of the workouts. and then come out a lot more stronger. So it does improve strength in that way.
Oh, see, that's one thing I did not know about Pilates, that it triggers like the smaller muscles that
Mm-hmm.
we don't see. So that's good. So I'm about to do some Pilates after this interview. All right. So earlier, while we were kind of chatting before we started recording, you mentioned that it helped you with preparing your body for delivery after in your 40s. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And I'll take it back a little bit too, because in 2013, I had a major abdominal surgery.
Okay.
And I was super nervous about it. And I was thinking about what my body was going to be going into that surgery and then coming out. And so I spent that summer in a major cleanse. I did like the carrots and the spinach and the ginger. I was drinking every day, and I tweaked my eating completely. Because I enjoy food so much, you'll never really hear me dieting. The most you'll see me do, I do follow calorie counting, but not in the way that I do look at calories, and then I did a program through my Pilates institution called 80 Bites, which talked about like just the idea of making sure that you're chewing your food a certain way and taking time with food, and that just made it. It just kind of gave you a conscious foundation to it. So I did all of that in the summer, but Pilates played a big role again because it was abdominal surgery. I was able to really push my core. And people were like, what are you doing? Because I was losing all this weight, which wasn't really the goal. It was more to get my body ready. So when my doctor saw me prior to surgery, she's like, you're going to bounce back pretty quick. So I was really glad to have done that. And I did. And the plot twist was that during that surgery, an unanticipated issue came up. And I ended up losing a lot of blood. They had to give me a blood transfusion. I was extremely weak after that. But had it not been for my workout routine prior to, I think I would have had a harder time recovering. So a lot of people didn't even know I had that surgery.
Right. You're right.
In 2013. Yeah. So I thank God for that. It was very successful. Then I was getting then a couple years later, because I had my daughter in that was 2013. Then a couple years later, I had my daughter in 2015, but I'm getting closer to that 4-0 number. And my friends laugh because I'm like, I'm having my baby at 100. So, and they're like, no, women have babies all the time in their 40s. I'm like, I want to be ready. I want to be ready. So I didn't go as hardcore as I had gone like the summers before, because I was doing Pilates 5 times a week. I was doing a Moxie training, which is like a CrossFit. I was doing that once a week. I did Bikram yoga 3 times a week, which is like
really?
Oh yeah. Oh, I went in, and then I was doing, and then I did kickboxing 4 times a week. So every week that was my routine. And I was walking on the days that I wasn't working out. And just, and plus I was teaching too. I wanted to represent, what I was preaching.
Right.
And then I went in and I was happy. Also, it's very similar. Just my body was ready to, I didn't feel as fatigued. There's baby stuff that happens when you're carrying a baby, but I felt pretty good through my pregnancy. And I ended up having to have surgery to have the baby. So, it's like I was ready. It's like I was primed in the experiences before leading to that. It wasn't expected also, but I was good going in. So
that's awesome.
The key, the takeaway is that the bounce back after all of this, like my body was able to bounce back after those experiences.
You're right. And you know what? Because if anybody ever has surgery, it can be it can be very hard to bounce back, especially when it's abdominal surgery. And I'm even experiencing that even right now. Like I just had my 4th C-section, and exercise right now is a lot harder than it was for the previous one. I don't know if it's because muscular now or whatever.
Ah,
But it's a lot hard, especially when I'm doing like core work. Oh my goodness, it
yeah.
hurts. You know what I mean? So
Yes, it feels different.
it does. It does definitely feel good. I was like, I don't remember it feeling this challenging, but it has been a challenge. But again, when you have like that foundation, that basis, it can kind of like help you to push through, and it kind of prepares your body because your body kind of remembers, and your muscles like, oh yeah, we remember this, and it's like eventually you kind of, it's not gonna be easy like doing it at
No.
first, but you get there eventually. You get there eventually. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm happy. I'm happy that you were able to see the difference. As a result, you were able to see that your body was just like, yes, we are gonna do this.
Right.
So with and you mentioned various different exercises, and prior to recording, we were talking about like the importance of diversifying like different routines and stuff like that. So share a little bit about that for us.
So what I tell my clients when my clients come to me, or a person comes to me and they're going to be my student at a Pilates studio, whether I'm teaching, out of the martial arts place or the wellness center, I let them know if they haven't practiced Pilates or any workout, I have them ease in slowly. I'm like, you don't want to, come in and do 5 days of Pilates if you can, but you probably shouldn't. You want to ease your body in. So usually my clients start 1-2 classes and then they can work up to it. And I start them on the mat. Mat work is hard because you're using a lot more of your body, but I do incorporate bands and weights. I do the physio ball. I love the physio ball. We do a lot of workouts on that. But I encourage them, to look, into, I'm not a nutritionist or a health, that I'm not an expert in that area, but I do encourage them to, look at their diet and diversify their plans. So I said walking, it could be walking for 15 minutes. Like I'm not a runner. I hate to run. I'll do it if I have to, if my life is dependent on it.
Exactly. That's when I will become the best sprinter you'll ever see.
I'm like, oh, she can move. But, it doesn't have, like, some people think that you have to do these big things. It could be walking for 15, 20 minutes, 2-3 times in the week. It makes a huge difference. In the morning time before it gets real hot, if that's the case, things like that, or in the evening, just before the mosquitoes come out, like in the summertime. But because that's what I do. Because I can't. But I do encourage them to diversify, and it doesn't have to be like the crazy thing that I did with the Bikram and the kickboxing, whatever. But switch. It's like eating. Imagine if you woke up every day and you had cereal every day for like, your body is gonna crave something variety.
Yes,
and I believe that especially when people plateau and they're like, oh, I've been working out and doing this thing, your body's gotten used to it and it's craving something a little bit more. So so I do it for myself. It works, and everybody's a little different. So what works for me may not work for the next person. But I do believe that, especially if you're doing Pilates, and some people, they like Pilates because it's a gentle workout and it makes a big impact. So some people, that's all they stick to, and it's great. Right. It's not an easy workout, so it's a good challenge to your body. So you wouldn't be lacking. But I do encourage that people, especially incorporated like a cardio, and then if you had Pilates for like strength and toning. That would be a nice pairing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's really good. And like you said, if our body can't even tolerate, our bodies are not equipped to just like eat the same things all the time, and it wants variety. So it's the same thing with anything else, with exercising and all that stuff. So instead of just sticking to like one thing, try other things. Because even besides what is good for our bodies, it's like you also won't know what you like, you know what I mean, until you start experimenting with other different things. So that's also super, super important. Now, what was the one thing that you felt like you really had to overcome, like a mindset or like a something that you like really had to overcome when throughout your journey? Like, did you struggle with anything, any myths about exercising or eating a certain way? What was the one thing that you felt like was the hardest to overcome or deal with?
Early on was the eating. I didn't realize how, and I mean, now that I know, I'm like, why would not I have not thought of that? But how important it is to your. So, for example, I remember when I first starting out, even before Pilates, I went to an instructor and she was doing focused ab workouts, and I said, okay, how many of these crunches do I have to do to get this stomach right here?
Right.
And she's like, you could do 1,000 crunches if you're not eating properly. You're not going to get that result. So I did join Weight Watchers way back when, like now Weight Watchers is like, I don't even recognize it anymore because they've revamped it, and it really taught me, how to, I grew up in a Haitian household, so fruits and vegetables that was not unfamiliar, but just how much of it and where to put it and mix it, doing the healthy plate, you'll see me go into an event and have like half salad on my plate and then like little pockets of other things. So that was the biggest challenge. And then once I overcame that, it became second nature. And then being able to tackle workouts on my own, sometimes, we're social beings, most of us, and, grabbing a girlfriend and going to a class. Like I see a lot of that in my classes. I know if I don't see one person, I'm not going to see the other person. But it's true. Right, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's accountability. Like sometimes I need accountability, and having a partner in that is cool. But I could go into a workout, into a new place, into a new situation by myself. And it took some, and so I had to be brave in a lot of spaces where I was completely unfamiliar, like doing the Bikram yoga and things like that. But being able to, if you don't have that person to go with, being able to do it on your own, just get to that workout, get up, go to that walk and do it for yourself.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. It is always easier to have like to do these things when you have someone you can go with. You know what I mean? That accountability and support really makes the journey a lot easier than if you were to go by yourself. But then it takes a certain level of discipline to actually do it by yourself too.
Yes, that's the word.
Yeah, absolutely. So who has been one of your biggest supporters throughout, like who has been like one of your biggest accounting partners or supporters throughout this process? Or do you have one?
That's a good question. I have one. I don't have just one, but I like that question. Thank you. No, out of my household, it's my family. It's my husband and even my daughter. She doesn't know it, but when I have to say, "Mommy's going to teach her exercise class now," or "Mommy's going to work out," whether I'm heading out the house with it or doing here, they're very encouraging and supportive. They give me that space to do it. That's important. That's important.
It is.
But I, starting with the first one with Barbara, when I walked into her Pilates studio, and then when she saw me in her classes and said, "This is something you could do," and the encouragement she gave me, she let me work out of her studio. I had to fulfill a certain amount of hours in order to get my certification, for example. Or even, Patrick Cody, when I went to his, to Cody Martial Arts Center in Clinton, and he's like, "Oh, you teach Pilates?" He's like, "Come and do it here." And I'm like, "Really?" And he gave me the key, you know what I mean? And we put together and set up classes. And so this is, it's not just one person, but you have, you have family, and then you have this fitness world that I didn't even know existed out there. And people are willing to, it's not competitive in the way that you would think. People are willing to, not only are they curious about your fitness journey and then what your expertise is, and then there's a sharing, right?
Right.
So for example, with the martial art, he would teach his classes and it's a lot of hoo-ah, ha, and then you get to my classes and oftentimes we paired up. So he would teach his class and then there would be maybe a 15-minute and I would teach mine. It's like trickling water. You know what I mean? Like
it's like totally different, right? It's like
it was polar opposite. And so, but he enjoyed it. He would take the class.
Right.
And so, I really appreciated that support and where I'm at now, where I was teaching 2, 3 classes prior to having had my baby, and then now I'm more of a sub. So she'll call me on, and people look for me. She'll say, "Oh, people are asking for you." She's a great supporter because she has a vision for a wellness center that is all encompassing and wholesome, and kind of tackles different things. She's a yoga instructor, but she's very open to other disciplines.
That's awesome.
And so she's always curious about, where do you see this Pilates journey taking you, and how can we, together work on that. So I appreciate that support. But my family and friends, I'm a Christian person. I'm very prayed up, and I believe in Bible based. And so you'll hear me talk a lot about that too with my journeys. That if it wasn't for prayer and the Bible, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to, I wouldn't be able to push to other things. But yeah, but I love that question. Thank you.
Oh, no
It's
problem.
not just one person, it takes, like how they say, it takes a village to get. Yeah.
It does. It does. And I mean, I'm happy that you answered that the way that you did, because like sometimes, like you said, it's more than, it takes a village. It's not just one person. And sometimes we want to look to just to one person, but it's just like, no, everybody has their own, that they bring their own level of support to it. So it's not, you know what I mean? So you can't account, you can't just say, oh, it's just this person, or I did it on my own. There are other facets that pushed you in order for you to get where you are right now. And and it kind of goes beyond just like health and fitness in general. It's like, period, right? Like whether it's career wise and life, everything in life. It's just kind of, we are built that way, created that way to kind of like support one another. So I really like how you answered that, and I mean, and it's the truth. So I do appreciate that. So is there anything that you're struggling now that you're trying to overcome? Like, do you have a goal that you're trying to reach, or is there something that you're struggling through right now that you're hoping to overcome at some point?
Yes.
Well, I'm asking because you're an instructor. We need to know that
no, it's true.
Like we still have our issues too.
No, it's true, and I'm glad. And another great question, because I'll tell you, this probably happens to you, Belinda. I can go into Shaw's, and I'm just minding my business. I'm picking out my lettuce and my fruit, and I might see a former client. They're like, I'm coming back. I know you haven't seen me, and I'm like,
I'm not judging you. I'm not. I'm not judging you. We're just here buying fruits. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I'm here too. So, but it's to say that we all have our struggles, and there are moments where we, fall off for a little bit, and life happens. And I think prior to this, we were talking, and I was saying, I'm in my like third or fourth health journey. The first, was the anxiety, managing that was driving me, and then the next motivator was that surgery I was going into, and then the baby. And right now I'm just struggling with, like everybody, let's be real, we're in a health crisis, a pandemic, we're home, and we're trying to manage work and school and everything all in, in one bubble. And so I kind of put, the workout and the eating. I mean, now I'm cooking a lot at home, which I always was kind of, but we've eliminated a lot of like eating out and things like that, which we weren't doing a ton of, but you know what I mean? It made so right now, and I'm about to contradict the whole thing, because usually my health journey.
Thank you for the warning.
A little warning, because usually my health journey has little to nothing to do with my weight. It's mind, body, and soul. I look at the whole. But right now, it's for the first time I'm looking at my health journey, and I'm looking at my weight. So I have a goal. I know that, I have a goal that I want to reach with that. So I have some weight that I've put on a little bit before. I can't even blame the pandemic completely, but the pandemic came, and then it just kind of,
it still kind of kept going.
Yeah. So I do have a goal in that, and I wanna make sure that I am back to getting consistent. Where I used to do it every day, I'm not doing it every day. So it's just finding, it's like now I finally found the groove of how my schedule is looking at home with work and home. And And so I'm able to, we walk in the mornings. I walk in the mornings for half an hour, and I do the activity for the hour after. But I want to make sure I keep Pilates as my foundation. So right now, my goal is to bring Pilates back into my routine a little bit stronger. When you're not teaching, like I'm subbing now, you're motivated in a different way.
True.
And just taking care of myself. You
That's
take care of
awesome.
everybody else,
Right.
and then you forget.
And
So
yourself. That's right. And one thing you said that was really cool was that, there are different motivators for every time that you kind of went on. And sometimes it had nothing to do with weight. And I think oftentimes I remember like when I first started exercising, people were like asking me like, why are you exercising? You're not even big. Because I mean, if you don't be like 4'11", I'm just like, well, for me, it's not losing weight. You know what I mean? Like you feel good about strengthening your body. You know what I mean? And so I think and after, like, when I started getting those questions, I started to feel a type of way because I was like, oh, snap, maybe I shouldn't be exercising. You know what I mean? It's like, no, forget what they're saying, because, like, I know that I'm strengthening it for myself. It's not a matter of losing weight. It's not always about that. Like, actually losing weight is a side effect of exercising, to be honest with you. But there's so many benefits of surrounding that we do not give enough credit for. Like, I even put a post about that recently in the newest 2018 fitness thing that came out from one of those, was it Academy of Sports or whatever it was. They were saying that exercise has immediate health benefits. Like, you do it right now, you have immediate health benefits. Like, it lowers blood pressure, it lowers this, it increases that. Like, it has the stuff that we are lacking medication for. We can get immediate benefits just by spending 15, 20 minutes, walking or Pilates or whatever it is that we're doing, some sort of movement. So it's important to know that losing weight doesn't only have to be the only motivating factor for exercising. There are plenty of other reasons. So I'm happy you mentioned that. Now, we're wrapping up. And so is there any, well, what I should say is, like, where do you teach now? Like, where are you subbing? If anybody wants to come and check out your classes or social media. I know you're on Facebook. So if you can just share that with us, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay. So currently I'm with Wachusett Wellness Center, and that's out of Clinton. And if you go to her website, you'll see the offerings that she has. She has a lot of, her name is Juliana Record, and she has a lot of offerings virtual. And that's where you'll find me most likely teaching. We're working on, she has a schedule that comes out every season. So she had a summer schedule, for example. She'll have a fall schedule. And usually I try to get on fall and the spring schedule. And over the summer, I was there as a sub. So if there's an instructor, So I taught a couple of classes as a sub for her. And that's Wachusett Wellness Center. And you could Google and pull up the website that way. And then I do have a Facebook page that I'm reviving. But if you go there, the information is still relevant. It talks about what Pilates is, Joseph Pilates, a little bit about him, why he invented this workout, the core being a powerhouse, workouts start in the kitchen. So there's a lot of good advice still there. And if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out to me through there. I'm looking into, I've given private lessons before, but I just have to set myself up. I want to make sure my availability is where it's at. But that's where I am right now. My Facebook page is Style My Body. And Emmanuella Latortu Gibson is what you'll see. And then Wachusett Wellness Center.
Well, that was embarrassing. Sorry about that.
Please. It's okay.
I am so upset right now at myself. So my bad. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Manny. You were like in the middle of sharing in my computer. I saw it. I was like, all right, 3%. I got it. I'm good. I can wrap this up. And it didn't even go down to 1. It went from 3% to like.
It was like a warning, and then it just went to it. No, we're good.
Oh my goodness. Good. So I'm so sorry.
I'm good.
I am so sorry. Okay, but you were saying
frozen for a moment, and so I wasn't sure if it was. I'm like, she sure has been still the last couple seconds. But
oh my goodness. So I think the last thing I heard you say was the one in the class that you were doing it at the studio, not the other one, the Taekwondo one, the martial arts one. So you were saying that you.
Oh, no, I was saying, well, because I'm mostly at Wachusett Wellness Center now.
Okay.
So if you go to their website, you'll be able to find the classes that she's offering. She offered, I think, over 250 classes over the time that we weren't able to meet in person, which was remarkable.
Yep.
She was able to do virtual classes, and I taught about one or two of those. And then what I was starting to say, that's right, is that she'll put out summer schedule, fall, winter and spring schedules, and so I'll be working with her to see where I can offer some classes, and where I can't offer classes, I'll always be on her roster as a sub. But folks can reach out to me via Facebook, and it's Style My Body. I'm at Facebook, and it's Emmanuella Latortu Gibson. And you can reach out to me. You can message me there if you have questions. But that page, I'm reviving it, and but there's still a lot of really good information on there about Pilates and about wellness, fitness, and wellness in general.
Awesome. That is so good. So I'm so happy that you're able to share all that with us, Manny. I really appreciate it. Again, sorry for just dying on you in the middle of what you were saying. I do apologize.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
thank you so much. I appreciate your work and everything that you do. I'm a fan also of Coach Bell Gel. And I appreciate all the work that you do also.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So this is it. This is Manny. You heard it from her. She's a Pilates instructor. We hear where you can get in touch with her. So if you have been considering Pilates, hey, you've heard it. Hopefully you can connect with Emmanuella, and she can tell you all that you need to know. But ultimately, the takeaway point is that we need to definitely, number one, diversify our workouts. Not just stick to one thing, and that ultimately that exercise is good for mind, body, and soul. It's not just in weight loss thing. So it's like mind, body, and soul. So thanks guys for listening. Thanks again for listening. My apologies for the technical difficulties. And I hope you can join us next time. Thanks again, Emmanuella. Bye, girl.
Bye-bye.